From the only big name left waiting to put pen to paper this summer, and two of the most notable stars that are left here to sign, James Harden, Draymond Green. Now, both are expected to stay with their current teams, but the contracts, they may be on hold until LeBron makes up his mind, whenever that may be. The free agent pool, though, is still deep, and we're almost at the end of July here. DeMar DeRozan, Bradley Beal, Jonathan Kuminga, and remember, Russell Westbrook. They all have yet to land a new team or a new deal. And finally, the restricted free agents, too. The Pistons, they don't have a deal yet with their All-NBA center, Jalen Duren. The same goes for the Nuggets with Peyton Watson, and then the Clippers with Benedict Mathurin as well. So alongside Dave McMenamin, Ramona Shelburne, Mark Spears, I'm Malika Andrews, Kendrick Perkins beaming in from Houston. And yes, we know, everybody does, LeBron is the story of the summer, and it's very difficult, right, to have a conversation about free agents and free agency that doesn't start with LeBron, but we are going to try here on this spot on Tuesday on NBA Today. So Perk, what other free agents do you have your eye on here?
Right now it's Jalen Duren, to be honest with you. When you think about what's going on with him in Detroit, I'm trying to figure out why it's taking so long. And this is a guy that made third team All-NBA. This is a guy that is going to be one of their franchise guys alongside Cade Cunningham. And I get it. He stunk it up in the postseason. But a lot of young players have bad postseasons and they learn from it. This guy still was a 20-11 guy, and it shouldn't take that long. The last thing that you want, if you're the Pistons, is having this young man sign, walk into training camp frustrated. Now all of a sudden, J.B. Bickerstaff got to have a coming to Jesus meeting and get him back on track. When right now, him and Cade Cunningham should be working out. Him and J.B. Bickerstaff should be communicating and seeing how they're going to feature him next year in the player for his player development and him getting better as a certified number 2 option. This is a problem, and the Detroit Pistons need to hurry up and correct this and make it right.
Well, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, because I just talked to someone who said that negotiations on Jalen Duren are at a standstill right now, could take deep into August, could take quite a while, and I think that's because teams that tried to get Jalen Duren, the Lakers were one of the teams that pursued him, they just had a sense that Detroit was going to match anything that was offered to him, and so they can't afford to lose him, and yet it's going to take a long time because they can't agree on what his value is and how you use that value in building the team.
You know, someone close to Jonathan Kuminga, and he's somebody I'm intrigued about, said that he's in that long line of traffic behind LeBron James.
Mm-hmm.
Just wait for him to pull over so they could get by, and DeMar DeRozan in that traffic too. That he just, you know, he said LeBron's a senior citizen of the league, driving 15 miles per hour on a 65 road. And, you know, Kuminga didn't get his $24 million exercise option, and right now there's just not a lot of money out there, and they're trying to come up with stuff. They're hoping that Atlanta will do a sign and trade, but does Atlanta want to add some more contract? His name's been thrown out with the Lakers. I've heard maybe Minnesota may have some interest in him, but for Jonathan Kuminga, it's definitely wait and see, and just, you know, hopefully you got enough cash to keep going.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think Peyton Watson is dependent on anything with LeBron James, but I do think he's a very important free agent because the Nuggets were confident they would keep him, and yet they haven't necessarily locked this in because there's other teams that are pursuing him. The Clippers are a team I've heard. The Milwaukee Bucks are a team I've heard. Like, there's teams with interest in him, and if they pay him too much, the expectation around the league is maybe they have to trade some other players because they have to make the rest of the salaries work. Just so there's been discussions about Christian Brown. There's been discussions about Kent Thompson. Like, this is something that could have a domino effect depending on how much Peyton Watson signs for and whether the Nuggets decide to match.
I saw Peyton in New York on Friday.
Yeah.
This is a 23-year-old looking for life-changing money here,
yeah.
and he has some confidence and faith that he is with Clutch Sports, quite frankly. He told me they've been through this before. I covered Tristan Thompson, where he was in a restricted free agent situation, and he waited all the way to be a training camp holdout. That's the only way you get leverage back in this situation, to try to have the numbers move. So I'm not saying that Peyton's going to be that exact case, but his representatives have done it before.
Right, not necessarily in the line behind LeBron, but there is some sense that there is money that is being held up here all over the league. So, Mark, I'm turning my blinker on. I'm going over into the lane over on my right here because we do await the big decision, right? And that is LeBron James. And LeBron's longtime friend, his longtime agent, Rich Paul, released the latest episode of his podcast, Game Over, last night. And he spoke about, frankly, why this is taking so long.
We're not making this about attention and a spectacle. It's not about a decision or anything like that. He has a choice to make. He has a business choice to make. We're not going to sit here and decide or allow someone else to decide when he makes that decision. From a business perspective, you are making a choice between jobs, high-level jobs, and you've earned the right. You're a big-time executive that's with an unbelievable, arguably the best resume in the history of your job. Who's rushing you? Okay, nobody. There's been several people to call and say, hey, Rich, is there anything more we should be doing, we could be doing? And my answer is no.
So all the bids are in, and my favorite part of this was Max Kellerman says to Rich, okay, well, we need to start with LeBron. He says, why? Why do we need to start with LeBron? Well, because it's the biggest question mark that's hanging over the NBA. So let's just reset. On Tuesday, July 21st, where do things stand here, Dave?
I checked in with Rich on my way into the studio. Quote, nothing happening today. So we're going to move on.
Okay.
Day 22, at the very least. Listen, the teams that are in pursuit of LeBron, they're okay with this. It's not like because this is dragged into 3 weeks, the teams are starting to fall off in the race to get LeBron. It's a cost of doing business to some degree. Now, Rich is adamant that he doesn't know what LeBron's going to do, and LeBron doesn't know what LeBron's going to do. And so any amount of pressure from an outside team or from the league commissioner, Adam Silver, is not going to affect things. Try to tell LeBron what to do, and that's not the best way to get him to move towards a decision to work with him.
And you're not the only one, Dave, who's checking in with their sources this morning. I heard that one Mr. Kendrick Perkins has been making a couple of phone calls. Perk, what did you learn?
Well, I did. I had to call Rich Paul, little snotty nose ass, and I asked him, hey, man, what is the holdup? I said, what is the holdup? Is it money? Does the team need to make a move? And you know what Rich Paul told me? He said, Perk, listen, man, this has nothing to do with money. Whatever LeBron James, the teams that are at the top of his list, they're all going to pay the same dollar amount. He's not asking a team to move anybody that's contradicting what they standing for. It's not about the money. It's about the fit. He's had his mind made up. Like, I believe it's been a time where he had his mind made up, and then all of a sudden he's changed his mind and he's back to the drawing board again. And what people have to realize is that yes, he does have a wife, Savannah, who has an input, and he's also considering that in his decision. His daughter as well, and obviously Savannah would love to travel to LA to go watch her son Bronny get some minutes for the Lakers and watch him play at times. But they have another son that's down there in Arizona by the name of Bryce. And yes, Bryce didn't get a lot of minutes. Actually, he was a red shirt last year because he was going through the development process, but he's expected to play. So I know we all are anxious and want LeBron James to make a decision, but what I got from this call from Rich Paul is that, and I understand it now, he's like, Perk, I'm not going to rush, and he shouldn't rush. One, it's not about the money. He's not forcing the teams to make any type of trades or moves. It's solely about what's the fit, what's comfortable. So I'm pretty sure at some point throughout this process that he was leaning one direction, then all of a sudden he changed his mind. He was leaning another direction, he changed his mind, and it's part of it. We're talking about arguably the greatest player to ever play the game of basketball and how he wants to end his legacy and end his legacy. Like, we all got to be patient, even me.
I think that's really interesting what you just said, Perk, because teams in the league, in the absence of information, in the absence of people saying he's leaning one way or leaning the other way, they're theorizing. Like, I've talked to several of the teams that they're waiting on his decision, and the question is LeBron waiting for us to trade for someone? Does he want us to improve the team? Does he want Kyrie Irving? There was this idea of Anthony Davis in Golden State. And these are theories, okay, but that's what happens when there's a vacuum of information, when people don't actually know what's in his head and what he's feeling.
That's why when you're told, in kind of interviewing one-on-one, when you stop talking, people feel the need to fill the void and fill the silence.
So
the same applies here.
But Rich explicitly said that there's nothing that teams should be doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, I've been ran down those theories, and they're not true.
Yeah.
But that's what's happening right now as we wait.
Yeah, he said even in the podcast, if you have empty roster spots, don't wait on us. Like, fill them.
Yeah.
So.
And I'll tell you this.
I'd cut a number 12 guy for LeBron James if I had to, right?
Right. You can hold up to 20 guys in training camp.
Pau Gasol once told me in the midst of going through his free agency stuff that everything sounds good till you sign. And once you sign, it's done. And for LeBron James, this is the final chapter probably, right? Whether it's a 1 year or 2 year chapter. So I think maybe that is the hesitancy. When you're done, this is going to be the end of your legacy.
Right, and so, as Rich Paul said, we will not be the ones, and no one will be, to rush LeBron James here. And just a reminder that Arsham Sharania, the teams that he reported that are at the top of this list here, the most likely teams that he is reporting is the Miami Heat. Philadelphia is on that list as well, and then the Cleveland Cavaliers. So all teams in the Eastern Conference, but that's not to say that others aren't still in this mix as he makes his decision here. All right, we got some other stuff to get to here on NBA Today.
Can you predict your stat line this year and your record this year?
Stat line, I don't really care about stat lines, but our record, we're going to have 40 plus wins.
How many games played for you?
82.
Perk, Anthony Davis is saying right now all 82 played.
I believe him. Have y'all seen Anthony Davis lately? Seen those workout videos circulating online? He looks in phenomenal shape. And I think, people forget that when Anthony Davis is available, he's a top 15 player in the league.
Sure.
Anthony Davis is one of the most skilled power forwards that we've ever seen in the game of basketball. Anthony Davis affects both ends of the floor. You put him with Trae Young, AJ the bouncer. You put him with the kid Trae that they drafted last year in the lottery. This team is going to be okay. I love Brian Keefe, who's the head coach over there. This team is going to be right in the thick of things, and I believe that Anthony Davis will play at an all-NBA level, and the Washington Wizards, led by Anthony Davis, will be a top 6 seed in the Eastern Conference.
Wow, top 6 seed in the Eastern Conference. When I hear AD say that he's going to play all 82, I think of that as more of a mindset than a literal binding. It needs to be 82 games. But Mark, he still has an extension looming. He can't sign it yet. Early August is when he's eligible. I think that drives the mindset as well, no?
Yeah, I mean, he's still got some good money coming without it. But when I spoke to him briefly in Vegas, he said, let's see what the Wizards want to do. But the one thing is, he's present. He was at Trae Young's press conference. He's been working. He went to Vegas. He didn't have to do that. And then when you hear his comment, he's talking about 40-plus wins. That sounds like the Wizards. So he expects to be there. And I think from hearing from the Wizards front office as well, they're very positive about his presence, about his leadership that he showed, that they'll get something figured out. I don't know if it gets figured out in August, but I think things are moving in a positive direction for this dormant volcano in Washington to finally erupt.
They traded for him and Trae Young because they wanted them on the team. Like, they felt like Trae Young was going to unlock Alex Sarr and some of those young guys that they have, and they felt Anthony Davis would be great playing next to Alex Sarr.
Yeah.
That's the 5 he's always wanted to play with.
Well, the Washington Wizards, they haven't won 40 games, which AD was saying over 40 is what he's predicting. They haven't won that many games since the 2017-18 season. That is the longest drought that we have seen in the NBA, and so they're looking to put an end to that drought before we start talking about top 6 or any of these other things, Kendrick Perkins. All right, coming up here on NBA Today, of course, yes, we are going to get back to LeBron because Pat Riley spoke about the future Hall of Famer and his recruitment.